Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. And yes, we are still talking about the whole situation with Pokimane and Fedmyster. Yeah, it's not done yet. We're still going through it. So the odd thing is that she actually made two responses and they're both different. So firstly, she actually did like her first response on her stream that she went over the document, and oh boy, it was wonderful.
And I won't lie, that is some petty shit I did. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, they're unrelated. You know, like, yeah, I saw it and I was like.
And within these last few days, Pokimane actually released her own 11-page document responding to Fedmyster. And you know, the Google documents are they're just so cool. You know, like, we don't want to start a trend of people now using Google documents to actually expose people, because can we just sort of kind of stick to the exposing videos, because those actually are a lot better than just reading documents page by page by page and by page. It's like I'm back in damn school again. I don't want to do that. No, let's just stick with the videos. Thank you, please. Okay, so firstly, we're gonna actually look at the stream that Pokimane did, that she covers most of like her response in, but there are some key points that we are going to go over in the first document that was leaked, which I actually talked about in my previous video. So if you guys actually haven't seen that, please go watch that first, so you can actually be up to date on actually what is going on and what I think about the whole situation, and literally like every kind of point that I really get throughout her streams and her document. Yeah, there's a lot to say in this video. So in the document that was actually leaked of Fedmyster's like exposed document of Pokimane will actually be responding to pretty much most of it, and we're going to be covering that today. So in this live stream, Pokimane is actually going through Fed's document and, you know, pretty much of him exposing her. So let's just see how Pokimane is going to react to the amount of text messages and evidence being leaked.
There's details about us hanging out, watching stuff together. We did get very close, that's true. And oh my gosh. Insert very cringy text messages that have no place on the internet, but yeah, I mean, essentially me and Fed had just gotten really close, although we obviously weren't like dating, we were like talking.
Ah, yes, of course. You two are close. You two were close. But can you explain why you even skipped over the text messages of you two flirting with each other? This isn't just talking matter. Normal people that are just talking normally to each other do not start talking like this. They do not talk like this at all as normal human beings or friends. No, not at all. But throughout her stream, someone in her actual chat called her out to say, why did you even skip the messages?
Skipping the pictures? Oh, I'm sorry. They're really just cringe. You know? It's like, Fetty Weddy. Or like, you look cute. Oh, you made me blush. Like, it's really just cringe.
It's funny how people come to her stream and just think like, oh, she's going over the document of Fedmyster. Okay, let's go see what she has to say. But then goes to the text messages and say that they're cringe. You know, I don't really think that's an excuse to really, you know, say, oh, I don't want to go over these texts. No. They're too cringe for me to read. That's not allowed on the internet. Why not acknowledge you and Fedmyster were talking back and forth and pretend that you don't even think that these text messages exist at all? But man, if her tier 3 subs find out that she's been talking to some other dude, woo man, goodbye tier 3 subs for Pokimane. Then she goes over the time that Fedmyster actually told somebody that him and Poki were actually seeing each other and being together, which is one of the main points Poki likes to bring up in her old stream clip.
he told the guy not to tell anyone, not to talk to anyone about it, not to talk to me about it. And that was the first time that Fed just like massively broke my trust, and I could never trust him or look at him the same way. And I'm very grateful that the guy in question told me this, even though Fed told him not to. And then I retroactively asked someone else from kind of the past whether Fed had said something similar to him, and they did. And I very recently, just today, found out that he said the same thing to another guy. And the guy I found out about today was someone else that like I was seeing or wanting to get to know.
Then she talks about how apparently that made her upset.
To say like I'm a really private person and that he shouldn't have alluded to someone that we were talking, but actually in this instance we really like were, this was the first time that we started talking and we were starting to talk pretty seriously, and I was like, I need to figure out whether this is something that I want to pursue and risk the conflict of interest or just something I'm not interested in. So I actually don't really care about this at all. Where he's like, I shouldn't have overshared. This was not my issue at this point in time.
Okay, hold on. Excuse me, Pokimane, but that is not what you said at all when you streamed about this during the summer. There is no way. Let me explain this. If it wasn't a big deal, then why did you go out of your way to even expose Fedmyster for the same damn reason?
I retroactively asked someone else from kind of the past whether Fed had said something similar to him, and they did. And I very recently, just today, found out that he said the same thing to another guy. And the guy I found out about today was someone else that like I was seeing or wanting to get to know. So I actually don't really care about this at all. Where he's like, I shouldn't have overshared. This was not my issue at this point in time.
Also, just because she really tried to make it out that her and Fedmyster were actually just close friends.
And Fed was by far the closest friend I had, like within OTV, and just a very, very close friend to me in general. Albeit having a very, very complicated dynamic, we were super close.
What she did, she made Fedmyster look so much worse than what he actually does right now. Then tries to make it out to be that Fed was actually lying and that he had just no chance with Pokimane.
Actually, in this instance, we really like were, this was the first time that we started talking and we were starting to talk.
So you guys were actually talking seriously. So you actually admitted it. Why didn't you say anything about this before? Why did you have to wait until this document come out and just expose you for you two talking and being serious with each other?
No hate, do you think you led on Fed slightly to the point where most people would consider you two as seeing each other? I think there was a point, again, at first, like at EDC, that I was like, yeah, no, we were talking at that point. That's why I wasn't mad that he told Josh that we were like talking to each other or seeing each other.
But Pokey, you're pretty much saying that you don't even care, but clearly you do care. Because you used 2 to 3 different reasons when Fed did it on your stream, trying to make a case against him. You tried to expose him for this, but then it ended up backfiring on you. And now you got called out. No one would have ever known that you two were talking unless this leaked document came out to the public. So we get it, Pokimane. You were lying, and you got caught right-handed. Then Pokimane actually tries to make even more excuses for leading Fed on.
She called me out on using language like that in front of people, which is true. Like, I don't really want to act coupley until I make that decision to be coupley. And again, I was still like trying to figure it out. I feel like I need to understand the boy scene a little bit more. I mean, you know, I was like 20, 21 in LA, single, freshly in LA, whatever the heck, right? I wanted to be sure of whoever I was going to pursue.
So what you're saying is that you're going to keep trying and trying to go off and on with Fedmyster and flirting back and forth to see and make sure he's actually the right one to be with. That should never, ever be the case at all.
I also didn't like the online pressure of people shipping us, and I don't like the idea of like falling into it just because there's pressure. I think.
Yet we have another excuse from Pokimane. What a surprise. And apparently, this is not her fault. No, not at all. You know whose fault it is? The internet's fault. So-called putting pressure on her. Which, if this was such a huge issue that the internet is shipping and putting pressure onto you, you kept going on to Fed and putting this stuff more and more onto Fed, then why did you do it in the first place? No, guys. It's surely an issue of Pokimane, of her own feelings and her insecurities of this whole situation between herself and Fedmyster.
This is so cringe because like I'm not like massively older and massively more mature, but I really was that. I was like, don't like call me pet names unless we're dating. Because I feel like it's just a line I draw, you know what I'm saying? But you know, whatever. Yeah, I was like, I want to be very private until I make the jump, then I don't care because that's just how it be with me.
So apparently, Pokimane did not like being called pet names such as babe or baby, and that was apparently crossing the line for her. And for her to tell him that they weren't boyfriend or girlfriend. Well, not surprisingly, Pokimane didn't even draw the line with him. Because right after, you said that it was boyfriend restricted or boyfriend reserved, as she would like to say it, but then gives him an allowance, which implies that Fed could literally just go and use those words like babe or baby sometime. There is something that you just don't get, Pokimane, which I don't know if you can tell with these mixed text messages of you two flirting each other, like saying pet names or boyfriend restricted, but you will let him say it anyways. Like, doesn't that just imply that you're already calling him your boyfriend anyways because he's allowed to actually say it? So another way that Pokimane tried to tell Fed that she's trying to be upfront with him is that she wanted to actually start dating and pursue anything else. But let me explain this. This is probably the worst thing that somebody can ever do to somebody. Like, this is her own words. Like, this is from her mouth, and she thought of this, and she thought this was okay to put on stream. She said that she would bring guys over to the house, which is next door to Fed's room, I assume, is her way of being upfront with him.
Essentially, we just had trouble being close, but managing our friendship, especially knowing he wanted more, but I was always upfront. Well, I always felt I was upfront about how I felt and what he could or couldn't expect from me. Obviously, we probably were not on the same page. We were essentially in a difficult to maneuver situation. It really bothered me that in this document, he tried so hard to paint me as the bad guy or like leading him on when I felt I was always honest. And I know there are parts in here where he's like, yeah, and sometimes she would like hang out with guys at the house, and it was like, it felt really bad for me. And you know what? I get that, but I hope you guys can also see from my perspective, that was me trying to be upfront about like, I am dating, I am seeing people, like, again, I am not pursuing a future between the two of us.
She actually just said that. Like, are you joking me? Like, this actually hurts. Like, seriously. How do you think that actually makes the other person feel? If you have someone that you have a crush on, and then, like, somehow you know or hear something, that something is going on in the other room, you're gonna feel shitty. You're gonna be like, why is she doing this to me? Why are you doing that? Like, is that the only way, Pokimane, to really just show, oh yeah, you know what? There is no other way. I'll just bring some guys over and, you know, make some noises in the other room so he can actually hear it. That is probably the worst thing you can ever come up with. Is it really that hard to just say, okay, listen, I want to start, you know, pursuing and start dating other people. I'm going to go and just do other things and, you know, get some experience out there. And if I don't, then we'll talk some more. I just don't understand that she went that way. She went so far to do that, to make Fedmyster hear what was going on in the other room. Then Pokimane goes on to talk about that she actually went on a trip to Canada to visit her family. And surprise, surprise, she brings up Fedmyster yet again, saying that Fed actually surprised her that he actually went up to Canada. And then right after the trip, she tries to get into Fed's mind with an idea of them being together, and then apparently she wasn't into Fed.
After EDC, I went to Canada around that time to visit my parents, and he had surprise visited me in Canada. Again, around the time that we first started talking, and I was like, do I like him, do I not? And then when he showed up, I was really flattered by that because I don't have like a shit ton of dating experience, and no one had ever done such like an extravagant thing per se to surprise me. So I was like, oh, maybe I should give him a chance. And so in Canada, I was like trying to open my heart up to the idea a bit more. But I realized it just didn't feel right, essentially. And I was like, oh, okay, now I know like this is not something that I want to pursue. So when we came back home, again, May-ish, I had that talk with him.
Then goes on to say that she would actually let Fed know that they are going to actually get close with each other, but she's only going to let him do that when it only suits her in the right way.
Admittedly, in hindsight, it was selfish that like I wanted to like still be friends and still be close. But I think he read that as like signs of maybe wanting more. But in my mind, I was like, I already had this convo with you of like not wanting more. So but also there was like this cycle of like we'd get close and I'd be like, I think like you think this is headed in a way that it's not headed. Like we can't be like this close. Because like boundaries would be pushed and blah blah blah.
Hold on, guys. She actually just admitted something. This has never been done before. She actually just admitted that there was a cycle of off and on conversations happening. But in her hindsight, that you do realize there was sort of like selfish. You were selfish. But Fedmyster actually describes it differently, and yet another surprise. But he actually describes the cycle as Pokimane only wanting him and wanting to get close to Fed after she stopped seeing all the other guys she claimed of seeing at the time. But as you can clearly see just from that video, and from the last one I did about the situation, is the type of person that Pokimane actually is and actually was to Fedmyster. And I really hope that none of this happens to any of you. And if this has never happened to you ever in your life, consider yourself lucky.
Oh, yes. So essentially, people reading this document may feel like I lied about there being something going on between me and Fed. I understand where that comes from.
Oh my god, guys. Seriously, we're getting into really, really good territory here. She actually understands. This is fantastic. This is wonderful. We should actually just throw a house party. You know, like, you know what offline TV does. We'll just throw a house party. Let me just say, no, she does not understand. She still doesn't understand. Why? It's because she actually did lie about the relationship, or just generally just left out so much context and information, which in the end really made Fed look a lot worse than he should have.
Explain that I was trying to share a very specific instance where I felt Fed lied about the state of our friendship or relationship, and it happened much later than these texts in Taiwan. It happened way after May when he visited, and I had that conversation with him of like, listen, I just want to be
Pokimane. Poki, hold on. You're just digging yourself a grave deeper and deeper as you go on by admitting that there was a circle between you guys, that you guys were actually getting close and not being close. Off and on. The reason why Fed told the guy at the party that you two were actually together is because you were the one that was actually kept going on and off and on and off with the cycle of back and forth conversations and leading him on. So don't tell me, don't tell your audience, don't tell the people that are watching that it was his fault. You were leading him on and you were making him feel that he had feelings for you. He had feelings for you, and you just make it out to be that he has no feelings for you, that you just got close, and that's all, which is not true. You guys actually just wonder why people out there just don't believe things that you actually say about literally anything at all. Because personally, I don't blame Fedmyster for speaking out about you. You kept leading him on, and it was like a constant cycle on and off messages. Is Fed not allowed to speak out his own mind? or any other way? Like, is he just not allowed to? Because if he says anything bad about you, you're gonna just expose him right there and then. Can you just not exclude him from doing anything, like, at all? He's trying to prove a point here, and you're just trying to say, no, he's lying. No, he's lying. I don't trust him. He's lying. Don't trust him. Like, you really just can't do that to somebody. Like, Fed showed these messages of him and Yvonne, but then you did the same thing to Fed and Yvonne. Like, you really can't do that to a person. Like, you really can't. But it seems that Pokimane actually has her own issues on why you probably weren't friends with him like Fedmyster was.
Actually, like, the things that he had said to people, I could tell that there were just bad vibes. You know what I mean? I think you guys know what I mean. Like, sometimes you get that sentiment that someone just sees you differently, or like isn't really open to wanting to be your friend.
Then why didn't you just ask? Like, go around and just ask. Like, saying that you had bad vibes does not mean that, like, oh, they don't want to hang out with you. Oh, they don't want to actually be friends with you. How about you just go and ask and find out for yourself? It really just looks like that you just have really poor communication skills, and like, it's really hard for you to have conversations with people. Now, with that all out of the way of her response, we're going to go look through Pokimane's 11-page document that she released a few days ago. But we're not going to go through the whole thing because we actually talked about, you know, most of this information back in my previous video that I covered, which please go check that out if you want to get caught up with everything. But she actually talks about the Yvonne situation in her document, where she claims that Fed was actually being the sole reason that Yvonne got fired from offline TV. But according to Pokimane, she disliked the way Fed was constantly talking shit behind their back. But once Fed's document actually got leaked, he exposed that Pokimane was actually the one that was shit-talking Yvonne, making her fans think that, oh, she's the innocent one. I didn't do anything wrong. I would never do that to a friend. But it's funny enough that she was actually the one doing it, if not worse. However, in Pokimane's document, she actually explains the Yvonne situation, saying, I would like to give some context to the messages that were included of me talking about Yvonne, since the leaked document attempts to imply that I was plotting against her when this was not the case at all. Really? Was this not the case at all? You're saying that this was not the case at all? You know what you said. You are trying to make another excuse here, even though there are proof text messages in the document saying that you actually want to replace Yvonne. In this document, Pokimane really tries to actually, like, shift the blame or just get rid of as much hate as she can as possible out of herself, and it didn't work so well. These texts were from May 25th, 2019. Thereas Fed has shared screenshots of things I parroted about Yvonne months later on October 5th, 2019. I was not the only person that Fed would vent to about Yvonne, although I repeatedly heard same thing of him throughout these months. Huh? Parroted? Where are you getting these kinds of words from? Like, we had, like, complicated dynamic. We had this, we had that. Like, where are you getting these types of words from? But it just sounds like you are just trying to say what Fed is saying in his own document, but it's not through your mouth. You're just literally just copying and pasting what Fed said, but just rewording it. Then Pokimane actually shows text messages from Fed to her about Yvonne, saying that he tried to actually come up with ideas for content and Yvonne just ignored him to play League of Legends. But I'm pretty sure that Fedmyster was actually talking bad about Yvonne too. I'm not surprised if it was. Like, I'm sure of it. But the problem is how Pokimane portrays and thinks that she's the innocent one out of the bunch. She would never do anything wrong to her so-called friends. So there's a part in the document called Fed, where she explains that Fed told a guy at the party that him and Poki were actually a thing. And this is all about most of the stuff that we just covered in our previous video on Pokimane. So if you guys haven't seen that, yes, I know I keep constantly talking about it, but if you guys haven't seen it, please go check it out. It will keep you up to date with everything that's going on right now. But for you guys, I'm going to link Pokimane's document in the description below. So if you guys want to read it, go ahead. But honestly, there is nothing new to the situation. Like, we've already covered like about 90 to 100% of the stuff that she has in her document. I would like to kind of move on from, you know, documents, Google documents of exposing people, and can we just go to videos again? Pokimane really tries to shift the blame onto Fed and then completely skips over all of the lies that she has done throughout this whole situation, because there's been so much context that she's actually been left out that makes her look a lot worse. So in conclusion, everybody, I hope you guys actually understand how Pokimane pretty much completely did Fed dirty and left out so much context that it really made Fed just look so much worse. But now, since we have all this new information, really flipped on its head, and now Pokimane is getting all the hate instead of Fedmyster. But as of now, Fedmyster actually released another document, which we will look at in another video. It's going to be a short one. I'm going to try and make it as short one as possible. This one might have been a little too long, but I tried to keep it short as possible. But we're going to go through the third and last document of this whole drama situation. But if you guys like the journey so far that we've been doing on the Pokimane drama, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. It will really help. And make sure you guys actually have notifications on, because YouTube is very annoying, where it will not tell you if you know, someone uploads a video. So if you can hit that bell down there, it will be much appreciated, and it will tell you that I actually upload a video. And also comment down below what you guys think about the whole situation as of now. All my social media links are down in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord server, and everything else in between. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you around.